Hello, Houston. Hello, world. This is John Henry with Pacifica Business Talk, 90.1 FM on your dial. The email for this show is johnhenryradio@yahoo.com. Just like it sounds, johnhenryradio@yahoo.com. I'm pleased to announce that we have a special guest on the show. Our guest today is Gerald Peters. Gerald is an entrepreneur, a real estate developer, a stock market trader, and he's most of all, as far as I can see, as far as he is known to me, as a teacher on both YouTube and Instagram. He has a large following on both Instagram and YouTube. It's as Full Auto 11. That's FULLAUTO 11. And that's on Instagram. And if you search for Gerald Peters on YouTube, you'll find him there. Welcome, Gerald, welcome. It's great to have you here.
Yes, man. Thanks, John. I appreciate you having me here close to the mic. Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much. Well, great. Now, I first came across you in maybe 2015, 2016, 2017, something like that, on YouTube. And the reason I instantly was a little bit taken was because you were from Huntsville. And I spent 4 of the most fun years of my life in Huntsville at Sam Houston State University.
Okay.
And, I commented to you at that time. And at the time, you had, I believe, you had written both your books, and we're discussing a lot of the ideas in the books, and your discussion really had to do with building wealth, and you built wealth from, hope you don't mind if I characterize it as a humble beginning.
Yes, sir.
Why don't you tell a little bit about your background and how you got started, and we'll get into detail, and we'll talk a lot about real estate. We'll talk a lot about the stock market, and then we'll talk about your teaching and your authoring of books and just, the message that you're putting out to people.
Yes, sir. So when you say beginning, you mean like childhood or like how I got?
Well, like say let's just say in the year 2000. No, 2010. Let's take 2010 because you started buying houses. Is that right?
My first house I bought in 2002.
Okay.
Yeah, and I would like to say I knew a lot, did a lot of things, but I didn't. Like, ignorance is bliss. I mean,
now, was that in Huntsville?
That was in Huntsville, and the way I got started in that, like a lot of people, chance encounters. Like, I think a lot of people, if you would just pay attention to what's going on around you, and you'll see that's a huge part of my teaching. Is like, you never know where an idea or inspiration or a thought will come from. And if we're too inside ourselves, like maybe we'll miss it. And my wife had a friend since 3rd grade, and she wanted me to go on a trip, and the guy was a millionaire. And I'm like, I'm broke. I mow yards. I don't want to go on vacation with $1 million. Like, that's the way I'm thinking.
Right.
And I just read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And then when I met him, he was a super kind, nice gentleman who was happy to share, making money, investing. And he's the guy that explained to me, like, in very simple terms, like, this is how real estate works. You put 20% down, you got a mortgage, you got an insurance, and you got a maintenance cost. Anything above that is called cash flow. I mean, it was so simple.
Now, did he write all that out?
Literally wrote it down for me.
Fantastic.
And I remember as I'm talking to him, we were talking, and I was like, I've got like $15,000 saved.
All right.
I'm out of debt. I don't know what I'm gonna do. And he was like, oh, that's easy. And he's just like, go do this, do it 10 times, you're a millionaire.
Well, there you go. And didn't you followed his advice?
I did. I left there. And I remember thinking that was the first actual practical advice. I'd never had a friend or an adult in my life at that time that was worth some money, that was actually worth $1 million, $2 million, $3 million, who was doing things. And he made it seem so simple. And I remember when I was leaving.
Hey guys, yes. What is going on, man? See, let's take that down. What's going on, man? Welcome back to the channel. I'm trying to do a little bit of live. Feeling a little better. I've been under the weather. We normally go live here every Monday and Friday for the Peters report, and then I kind of jump on just when the Lord leads me, so to speak. I'd forgotten all about that, man. That's an interview I did on Houston radio. You know, I'm a big believer in the law of attraction. And, you know, that what you think about comes about, and what you focus on grows. And whatever you hold your mind on, man, that's what you can achieve. And I'm still working on this, but I was sitting here in New Orleans, as a matter of fact, and I met a guy that had a radio show. As a kid, I'd always wanted to have a radio show. Of course, I podcast, I do YouTube, and maybe, you know, it's kind of like the modern day version, right? And but he was doing old school radio. And I still like to do that. I'd like to shoot my YouTube and then do a blue collar millionaire type show. People would call it. I could teach on there. Anyway, as I was sitting there thinking that, you know, I met this guy, and you know, it's one of those situations where he's like, well, man, if this idiot can do it, I could definitely get on there. It's one of those situations, you know, and I couldn't shake it. I just kept thinking about it, all the way home from New Orleans to Texas. And when I get back to Texas, that day in my email, this guy here, John, emailed me if I would like to be on his show. And it's like a public radio thing there in Houston. Which I thought was pretty fascinating. I mean, not fascinating. I mean, I don't know why I was surprised. That's the law of attraction, and you know, the principles of manifestation, man, what you can't let go. And I'd been thinking about it all weekend. And then boom, I was on the radio, and I had a blast doing it. We took some callers, and it was kind of fun. We had some that were out there, man. There were some crazy folks calling in. Well, let's get into some stocks. Hold on. What we're looking at there is Bitcoin. If you use stock charts, which I endorse stock charts, I don't get anything for doing that. If you do use it, if you go to, hold on here, I'm trying to run a couple things here. Thank you, GP, for your alpha. You bet, man. Appreciate you too. What's up, Tim? Sugar lumps. Man, fuck that stock. Fuck that stock. I'm sure you've caught other stocks that go up, man. You're not going to catch all of them. Let's see. Anyway, here we're looking at the wind. And if you go to the back of the Peters report, if you guys aren't subscribed, you hit that QR code up there to the right or your left. You can get on our email drip, man. We put out a lot of good stuff free. Some stuff behind the paywall. If you want to support our work, that's a very inexpensive way of doing it, man. I try to keep Discord affordable. You know, I can't add stuff and add people and add research and add things and keep the price the same. So this is a way to do it without having you have to pay for everything that we add. This is Bitcoin. Bitcoin is basically the same price today as it was in the middle of November. Is that November? Yeah, around November 20th, it was around 96,000. So we got November, December, January, February. We're into March, and it is the exact same price. $96,114. So not much has changed there. Let's see. Not much has changed. We're kind of just going through a little bit of a channel here. What it looks like to me, nice stage one's building out. I've got some futures contracts on it. we will see how it plays out. Can't catch them all. Let's see. Yeah, and if you are on that stock charts thing, let me show you how to use it. I don't know why you wouldn't use stock charts, man. One of the features of stock charts is you can share charts with people. Now, I stopped doing this because I think people should kind of build their own. Let me show you something. So here's stock charts, but watch. Let me just put in any old ticker here, all right? And one thing I like about stock charts over at TradeView, and I have both of them because I always have backups. I do this for a living. Let's say Dogs of the Dow. Right here, it says chart list. And I have a whole course on using this the money flow way. All of these are little chart packs. Portfolio 3. So if I click Portfolio 3, I run 7 different portfolios here. But if I click it, it'll pull up the first chart in there. But if I click View All, it'll pull them all up. Now we can just start flipping through them. And I like this, the simplicity of this, how clean it is. But now watch this. What if I do Edit List? It's how easy it is to edit and add. You can just add tons of symbols real quick. But see where it says send to a friend? Bam. Put their email in. You put their email in. And if that person is on stock charts, you can send them the whole goddamn folder. Boom. I used to do that a lot. And then it dawned on me, it'd really be a good exercise. People fill them out themselves. And you got to do it one at a fucking time. So you can imagine if I used to say, hey, in Discord, if you want my 3X extreme leverage folder, let me know. And then I'd have to send 80 of them one at a time, that gets old. But, amongst you guys, amongst friends, you're like, boom, boom, you can easily send them. So let's back this up for a second. So like over here, extreme yield option funds. Boom, I hit that. Click this, all the yield max in here, man. So I can just start in alphabetical order. I just start going down. And as stage 1, add shares, keep going. Oh, there you go. AMD's breaking at AMDY, add shares. You see how fast we can sit and process this once we know how to read charts, Look at this Bobo. See where it says stage 1 accumulation? That's where we're accumulating. And now look at this nice run. That's my sales pitch for stock charts. I don't get anything for it. I think they do give me like a free month if you ever sign up there and mention me. But that's about it, man. I wish they did give me some money on it. I'd probably referred 1,000 people. Hold on, I'm day trading at the same time like an idiot. They're not to $12. Yeah, I think it's more like going to go to 15, but we'll see. Anyway, if you're on that, not to beat a dead horse here, if we go back, there's so much in here too. Chart School, man, that's a lot of good shit in Chart School. Trying to figure out how to get them to let me fucking have a show on there. I think I cuss too much though. But let's see. Go back to the home page. Where's it at? Come on. Oh, Jesus, right in front. I'm sorry. I'm still sick here, so my brain ain't functioning as fast. Your dashboard here, you can do a lot of cool shit with this. As far as, seeing what's up right now, what's not, creating scans. But if you come over here where it says public chart list on the left, says member tools. I have a whole course on this, man, on how to use this the money flow way. Here's ours right here. We're ranked number 3. I've looked at these other 2. I don't see what people see in them. Honestly, I can't understand for the life of me why anybody'd sign up for these others. I don't know. But they do. Whatever. They have followings, I guess. Only reason I'd ask you to vote is if you vote, they give me more things I can do with the list. I can add different things to make it look cool. So anyway, I'd appreciate it. That's the ones we'll burn through here, man. And kind of lets you see what I'm looking at. I do hate the way you gotta go around here sometimes, though. And I'll show you some tricks on stock charts, man. You might not know. such as if you put the symbol here or put the symbol here, it does make a big difference. So you could sit and take stuff off. You could change the screen here. So like, let me get rid of these moving averages. I used to do this all the time, naked trading. Not the way the professor does it, but just naked chart trading, right? Well, if you do that over here and then you put in another symbol, it'll be naked too, right? It'll hold that update. But if you do it up here and put it in, it'll go revert right back to your standard screen. And all that is over here where you're saying save as default. Good stuff, man. That my course on that covers it. It's well worth it if you're not versed in stock charts. Stock charts is an amazing thing, man. When stock charts came out, it was a game changer. Prior to that, you had to actually download shit every day when you got home from work, and you had to download the fucking charts. It would take like 30 fucking minutes. I would download the charts and go eat and come back. It wasn't in no real time, man. It is night and day today trading versus when I started trading. Not to mention, you don't pay $30 to buy and $30 to sell. So today it's completely fucking free and people still don't invest. It shocks me. I mean, you can't even buy a candy bar without paying taxes, but you can buy stocks without paying taxes. All right, let's get into first one that caught my attention today is this Ford. We were on this Ford, and I want you to see something here. This doji, man. Look at that. So that was our stage 4, and we got that doji, man. You know how I feel about dojis. Right there was our entry. As soon as price, that's your trigger. When price gets above the 5 exponential moving, oh shit, I'm on the wrong tab. Sorry about that. Told you, gotta bear with me. My brain is slipping a little. That right there, where you see that line, that is the doji, man, the mighty doji. Now, I only care about those at extreme points. And Ford was definitely at an extreme point there, being a lowest low in a minute. Let's see. What's up, Dylan? Alex? Gang. Yeah, and so now we got what we would call the stage 2 breakout is happening, man. This is the this is the pattern. This is what it's all about. If you have looked at this week's, the Peters report, I try to update it on Sundays. If ever the market, if we get an extra day and we can roll it, and the market doesn't open until say Tuesday, then it won't update till Monday. And then throughout the week, I kind of update it here and there. But I always try to drop some videos in here I think might be useful. There's one in there right now on anchor points. God damn, I keep forgetting to share the damn tab. Back this up, man. Hold on. Let's see. Yeah, so right there on page 2, if you haven't watched it, you might catch it. If you get confused on anchor points, there's a video right there where I'm kind of breaking them down. Hold on, guys. I can't. Jesus. Fuck, hold on. Wow. Damn. Don't do this when your brain ain't working. Let's see. Here we go. All right, maybe I got my shit together now. It's actually It gets hard, man, talking and controlling the controls. But again, this is on the second page of the Peters report. I didn't get a lot of feedback on these, so I stopped doing these little short videos.
Components of the money flow trading system. Each week we'll try to do one. Let's talk about anchor points. Some people you may hear people refer to these as pivot points. These are the points as well. Let me show you something. Pretend these are a daily bar just for a second. And let's do this. Right. And that's just price bars, right? Each one's one day. Often, what we refer to as anchor points are also used to draw support points. And we'll get more in when we talk about support, the difference between support and supply and demand. But anchor points, again, what some people call pivot.
And there is a difference there, guys, between support and resistance and supply and demand. Slight, but different.
Are used to draw, and up here, that would be resistance. Obviously, we call those in the money flow apex points. So we got an anchor, think like a boat dropping an anchor, so an anchor point. And up here is an apex point, the apex of a mountain. So that's pretty.
Like I say there, that's pretty simple, right? So apex, anchor. Well, you lay that here on top of the stages, and if we look to the right, this descension of price as it comes down, 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 that's when I talk about the anchor, it's where the stage 4 and the stage 1 meet. And only way we can know is it's the lowest bar. The next bar is higher. And it doesn't confirm until we have 3 or 4, and one of them gets above the 5-period exponential moving average. That allows me to call that an anchor. Well, the apex would be the opposite. So it would be going up here. A lot of things you're going to see in the money flow, it's opposite, okay? A 3 is a 1. A stage 2 is the same as a stage 4, man. So to a short seller, this is the same, as us going long. Let me see. Was that video already that?
Pretty simple, right? Anchor, apex. Really easy to remember. It's just the bottom of the run, top of the run, bottom of the run, top of the run. And you say, yeah, sure, that's easy to do in reverse. So if we're here and we're doing an anchor point, what we're going to do is we're going to wait until it stops and hits the bottom. How do you know it hit the bottom? Well, the next candle or the next bar goes up. And so, yeah, you might have an anchor point here, and then the next bar goes up, but then the next one's down. So we start the count over. We need four bars that honor and hold that low before we can say we have a potential anchor point. And you'll see that'll be the bottom. Here's the problem. A lot of people say you can't buy tops and bottoms. Yes and no. So I get what they're saying, but here's the thing. You can buy all of them, and that's what we're doing here. This works great for buy and hold. We want to buy every bottom. It works great for trading because it gives us a place to put a stop loss so that we can trade against that anchor point. And it works great for position trades because over the months and years, it allows you to build positions in stage ones.
Hope you saw the distinction there, what we were talking about. So looking at this Ford chart, here's our anchor, and this was a little different in that, well, I'm trying to close. Damn, this button does not work for shit on the, slight variations you're going to get into this. We start adding dojis and what's up, eBook? Start adding dojis, things like that. And that's where you can start to kind of refine it. But you always want to stick with the basics in the beginning. The worst thing is to get someone new and you start dropping, you don't want to drop too much shit on their brain, can't take it all in. But as you learn it all, you can begin to fine tune it and get it down to exactly what you're trying to do, man. Let's see, where are we at on Ford? And this is picture perfect setup here. Now these money flow patterns you're seeing here, this is really tight. You can see it flowing though. Look right here again. Look at that, man. Another fucking doji just right there, man. That one right there. Look at that one. So if you see a lot of them, especially if you look at a chart and you see it respecting it a lot, if you see that, man, use that to your advantage. And that's when you can jump it, man. But the other thing we had going is, look, it had stopped here before. So if I get price stopping where it stopped before and I get a doji and it's a low, all I got to see is just the slightest little turn on the TSI. I need to see that curl, though, man. That curl is so important for me on the TSI. And once that happens, that's all I needed, man. That's confluence, man. I got 3. I don't want to jump it too soon. Doji itself isn't enough. Man, price is coming down big time now. Let's get back on there. Let's see. Let me get back to the wind here real quick. So Bitcoin's building out of stage 1. Ain't done shit yet. We're waiting to see if it does. What else we got going on? Bitcoin. And what was this? Copper. Yeah. Freeport finally ran on that. Dow Jones. The Dow's still just now. I mean, that's a stage 3. It's fighting. Couple ways. I wish I had a short video on this. Couple ways price can correct. One way price corrects is it sells off, right? So once the indicators like the RSI and these things get what they call overbought, all that means is, the RSI measure is the relative strength index. It's just like it sounds like, say the word relative. It's relative. Relative to what? It's relative to the last 14 days. It's relative to whatever you set that fucking number to. So if you look at my charts, you'll see on a day chart, I just used the 14, but day trading, I have a 7 and a 14. So it's relative to the 7 and a 14, okay? And so it's tracking 7 days and then 14 days. And what it's telling me is has price run too far too soon, or within the relative the last 14 days, is price high or low, right? And so when we're looking at Bitcoin there, we see, today's the same price as it was in mid-November. So, you're not going to see any extreme, the oscillators. And technically, RSI is not an indicator. It's what they call an oscillator. It oscillates, it oscillates based on price. So as price goes up and down, it oscillates with it, right? It's not trying to predict anything. It's just trying to compare it to itself previously. So when it's normally going flat, 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 and then it runs up real fast, you're going to see the RSI rise. And when it gets near the top of that line, that's what they call overbought. Doesn't mean you should go short or anything like that. Just means it's over fucking bought, meaning relative to itself. So, and it's telling you, hey, when this happens, it normally sells off. Look at that. We could look at that on this chart. Watch this. Let me clear everything on here. I'm just going to mark it where the RSI is kind of high. It may just touch it too, right? Not like you get touched. Watch so look what happens. Boom. Shortly thereafter, it comes down. Touches it right here. Look what happens. Comes down. Touch it here, right? It didn't really come down because it stayed up there. Man, market is selling off. I'm short here, man. It's coming down too. Let me see. And I'm up over $2,200 day trading NVIDIA this month. And then look, hit the high and look, sells off. And what happens on the low? It starts trying to go sideways. So again, what happens on the high? It goes sideways. So it can do one of two things. It can come down when the RSI hits, or what? It can go sideways. What happens when it goes sideways? The RSI comes down. the pattern you'll see is price will go sideways. You'll see the TSI and MACD will sell off, and yet price is not. I'm covering my shorts. And that's time correction. That's the market correcting in time, man. It's a pretty common pattern. You're just going to see a stage 3. It just keeps going sideways. What you're looking for, what I like to see, I want to see that RSI come down to 50. You know, especially if I'm about to trade, I need it to come down to 50. So always keep in mind, just because something becomes overbought, it doesn't have to sell off. It can just pause, go sideways. You know, now if you get a runaway, if you have my course, I have a thing on runaways. Those are rare. Best thing for you to do is just nothing. Best way to fuck a runaway up is to do something, okay? What you want to do is nothing, okay, during a runaway. Hold on, give me just a second.
Him touching my shoulder and going, "Hey man, just execute on what I told you."
Wow. Now you now tell us about your first house. I'm familiar with Huntsville because it's for those of you who don't know, it's about an hour and a half north of Houston. And of course, most of our listeners here are local to Houston. We have a lot of people on the web, but it's a college town, and it's you know, it's not a place where at least up to 5 or 6 years ago, inflation has wildly taken over. So you could buy in Huntsville houses less than 100K, 2 or 3 bedroom, you know, single family, you know, block foundation, wood, you know, nice houses and great rentals for students. And, you know, I rented some of those houses back in the day, and in the $30 to $70 per month range. Now that was in the 70s. But tell us about the first house you bought, and I know we're going way back, but we'll move forward.
It is,
in time.
and it's funny now doing social and writing books and stuff. At the time, I wasn't thinking of documenting and recording, you know, every little detail.
Sure,
you're not thinking that, and I wish I could say, you know, that like this was well planned and thought out, and it's a college town, and I didn't know any of that stuff. This is just where I lived. This is the money I had, and this is what somebody showed me. And yeah, I just went and I just started searching, and my actual first deal, I describe it a lot of times as one house. It was actually 2 homes. A son lived in one, his mother lived in the other. She had gone into an assisted living home and then had passed away. And so son.
Sorry about that. Let's see here. Get back on this. So that's what we see happening right now on the Dow. Yeah, that's a stage 3, but it looks like it's marking time here. It's another way of saying it. Let's see. Get back to viewing all. So Dow's holding up just fine there. We covered Bitcoin already, but notice the slope of the current trend of the histogram. The slope is pointing up. The money flowing oscillator is pointing up. TSI is rolling, doing that fishbowl rollover, and yet price is marching sideways. To me, that tells me we're about to break to the upside with a 110 target there on Bitcoin. So that should happen any day now. Let's see. So gold sitting on a doji right here. Now dojis with gold, you gotta. Here's the problem with dojis and gold. Gold, appreciate that, Jess. Gold is a commodity, okay? So it trades 24 hours a day, do the futures market. So getting a doji on right here, not as big a deal as with a stock, if that makes sense. Just because If we went and looked at the actual gold thing, it probably doesn't have one. I don't know. We could check and see. But anyway, it doesn't mean as much, the doji part, but it's still on an extreme is what it is, right? Let's see. Me and Jess were talking about this the other day. At first we thought the NASDAQ had hit an all-time high, but because it looks like it on here. But if you go look at the composite price, the composite isn't. So I don't know if it's stock charts printing it, but if you look at it, that is clearly higher than it was. And yet, if you look at the composite, it's not. Let me see if I can pull this up. So here we are on the composite. This is the actual, and it's at 20,029. But if you look at the goddamn QQQ, the QQQ sure looks like it's broke this. So that's interesting. Appreciate that, ma'am. A man Matt's asking about Merck. Oof. I know Merck's being sued now too, man. It just seems like they can't catch a break. That's kind of how it happens. If you haven't noticed that, I don't know how long, how long you've been. Can't even speak, man. My brain is still fucking fried. Not sure how long everyone's been in the market, but something to remember. Whenever shit gets bad, it stays bad. And it's just one bad fucking thing after another. And when shit's good, everything's good. I don't know why it's that way. It's just the way it is in the market. But look at this. The QQQ clearly looks to be higher. So this is something to do with the printing or the slight differences between the actual composite price, like the dollar sign SPX versus the SPY, right? So no big deal. Here's the SPY. Appears to be breaking out that above that resistance, man. Pretty cool. Something I've noticed this go around, so there's still room. Look at, I said this, if you, I have a page in the Peters report where I keep track of, every issue, we keep track of the Qs, bonds, oil, gold, Bitcoin. I'm always, posting those charts. There's still room for us to move higher as prices hitting highs. So that's a beautiful, what sucks is when you're hitting previous high and the RSI is high. That sucks. It's hard to get going then. Bonds. Hey, I'm happy with it right now. I don't really need bonds to run if the market's going to keep running. It'd be cool with me if they don't fucking implode like they have before. Another doji. Remember, we were just talking about the doji. RSI extreme, come down here. There's a doji. Boom. As soon as it breaks, there's your confirmation. Man, look at this price on NVIDIA. Let me pull this up, man. I've been trading NVIDIA instead of the TQQ ever since the DeepSeek bullshit from China. Bullshit. Let's see. This is NVIDIA on a 1 minute chart. Right, so let's point this out. So you can see the stages, right? Stage 3, stage 4, stage 1 didn't last. There's my anchor. As soon as price got above that 5, you can enter. Where's my target? Well, look at how many times it's hit this price zone. Hit it here, 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 here. Price has memory, man. Wherever price has been before, price can go again, man. Let's see. Yeah, no, it's not just SNCI. You guys just aren't going to let that stock go, huh? Let's see. Yeah, so we're moving, man. Yeah, we'll just hold it here for now. I got Dan Barrero coming to town today. It's cold as fuck. Trying to get somewhere where we can shoot content that doesn't have copyrighted music in the background. It's hard to shoot some places in New Orleans because of the copyrighted music. Hi. Crayon? Let's see. I don't know why I'm trying to read names. Major upside on DG, big gap as well. Yep, we're in Dollar General. Says Uncle G, take a look at it. Let's look at it. We'll pull that up. Then we'll get back to the wind here. So Ford's been a good one. I know Jess was all over that. Let's see. I think Dollar General is in my chart pack here. Sorry, I was taking some out last night, putting some in. I take it out. Sometimes I drop shit. I don't know why I took it out. Let's see. Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm not big into the gap thing. I mean, obviously gaps get filled. I'm not saying that at all. This one has taken a long time. Damn, this price is moving crazy right now. What's crazy on these? When you get these big gaps like this, there is no rush to buy these stocks. And you know, I have a 10% rule. If something drops 10%, I don't think, yeah, you got to adjust that to that type of stock. Okay, some stocks 10%. That's just a daily move. But a normal stock like a Dollar General and AT&T and McDonald's, they fall 10%. I'll do anything. I'm not buying. I'm not selling. You got to wait and see what's up, man. Because it always follows by more selling. As you see here, people get home from work. All of a sudden, you know, systems get triggered. You always get a better price, and you can follow the bottom. So the money flow will get you in right there. This setup is terrible. These gaps are almost never filled in that first run. I mean, almost never. So, you know, it's not something you got to rush into. Keep that in mind for the future. When you get these big fucking gaps, you got all the time in the world, man. I like Dollar General. I'm in it. This is it's not Walmart, according to Barron's, but they say it's worth playing. That was the title of the article. It's not Walmart. That's funny. No shit, it's not Walmart. It's fucking, oh man, I'd rather go to Dollar General than Walmart though. I ain't been in a Walmart in forever. Intel did that and only just made it back 7 months later. Yeah, no, this is very, very common pattern. I used to have a name for it, man. Forget what I called it. I mean, it's so common. Often I won't even fuck with this first section. It just never, 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 never works. I mean, the rare time it does is not a pattern. Snapchat's notorious for this. Does earnings, get smashed, goes sideways, tries to break out. It can't. It's usually number 2 or 3. This one is taking longer. You had one here, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we're on number 5, the 5th attempt. That's not good. Let's see, Intel. Now, Intel did it a little faster. Still working on it, actually. I mean, it was at least somewhat tradable, I guess. I don't know. I dropped Intel. Hopefully I'm back. Hopefully I'm back.
Like most of the people who are buying assets at some point want to sell the assets at a profit.
People that use fiat currency as a store of value, we call them poor. We call them poor. People that use fiat currency, we call them poor. We call them poor. We call them poor. We call them poor.
There is a name for them. Had to get a little pump going there. Here's two examples of the same thing. Where I talked about stage 3 is a stage 1. So we have Uber coming into previous highs here, man. It's always a conundrum when you have a bunch of a position. And you're like, but it's really high. I got to do something. It's really high right now. Motherfucker, go to 160. This doesn't look high. What if it goes to 240, man? I did that with McDonald's. Bought it at 50. Watch it go to 100. It's smart to trim, right? Than just to watch it go to 300. You know? So, no, sometimes the best thing to do is do nothing. Yeah, I'm trying to get in contact with Little Bubble, man. I need him to make me a money flow rap, man. I had another rapper set to do that. And motherfucker went to jail. So, trying to find a room for me and my man Dan Barrero to do some content that's not outside and not around. Oh, so the opposite of the Uber, because price has memory. So look at this here's the 1 minute. Let's clear this real quick. Hey, look, starts to run. When it comes down, look where it stops, right where it stopped. Sorry. Price comes down, stops right where it stopped before. And if you notice, okay, stop right where it stopped before. And on this little pullback, notice, look, you didn't get much in the way of the MACD or the TSI reacting to this. That usually tells me this is going to hold, if you understand what I meant by that. Meaning price came back down to the low, MACD and all that didn't really come back down. And you'll notice rarely do you see the money flow indicator in these extreme lows and price not turn. So that also, I mean, it could obviously, but those are just little things. So I would, I'm ready to add to this. We'll see how it plays out. That shit can all work off over time as it sits right in here for a minute and then it just breaks and runs down. Same thing we were talking about to the upside. All you can just interpret what you're seeing. You can only trade what is, man. If you got the latest on, if you go to the Peters report, staying one step ahead of the market. Yesterday sent out this email and that's my pad there, breaking down some of the trades of the week updates. Ford was one of them, just showing you what's up. Yeah, we got a video on it. I'm going to be honest. Some of these picks, our trades of the week have been phenomenal. I don't know what the return on is. It's got to be fucking up there, dude. We don't really keep track like that. That's a good way to get your ass in trouble by putting out stats like that. It implies that you'll keep doing as well, and you can't say that. So even if it's 150%, I mean, I'll say it, but you're never going to see me publish it or write it down. It's just the government, man. I love how they do that. Past performance is not indicative of future results, and then they use the past to fucking determine interest rates. We got a big breakout going in donuts, Krispy Kreme. Hasn't done well recently, but to be fair, a lot of people got on about this trade. Neither has fucking Hershey's, Kellogg's. There's a bunch of these that, there was a reason these food companies had not done well, man. AG&C, boom, that's been a killer. I can't remember a time I've ever been green in this, so enjoy it. Love the trade of the week. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Broken family. I'm not sure which one you're referring to, Scott, but Scott's traded with me a long time, so let's see. Mark, somebody says it's on the move. Let's see. Is Merck on the move? Is it on the move or is it teasing us? Kind of feels like a pretty person you keep asking on a date and they say yeah and then they don't show up. That's what it feels like. But it's only a 2-bar trigger though, but we already got the sideways. You got everything's there, man. I like the fact that the money flows in the stream. Well, might be worth taking a shot. If you're not in, now would be a good time to get in my opinion. It's tempting, huh? Although I kind of hate it right now. Yeah, if you're not on trade of the week, man, you're not saving money, you're losing money. Lena, you'd probably be retired now. Those trades have been so good. I'm trying to think of one that didn't work. I know there's a couple that didn't work as well. Not many. And then I used to give 1 or 2 backups that if there's always 1 or 2, I'm like, fuck. It can get hard to narrow it down to what I think is the best trade of the week. We've done a pretty good job. I don't do it by myself either, so just so you know. Although 48 laws of power say you should take credit for work everyone else does. Get back on this win real quick. I won't stay on too long. That was bonds. Oil. Looks like oil's running for a stage 2 breakout here, man. So that should put all oil stocks in play. Let's check Gush. Boom. Now, watch this. It's from the Peters report. If you go to the back, I hope you're connecting these dots. If you do the Sunday homework, I'm telling you, you will drastically improve your ability to trade in the stock market. Come on, man. People ask me all the time, how do you spot these rotations? I do my homework. Here's the homework board. I got to start using the smaller board. The bigger board's too hard to see. Over here in thoughts and ideas, crypto, XLP stocks, oil stocks, looking for entries. Right? So I'm looking for injuries, and now we're starting to see it. Well, if you hang out with me, you're going to see, damn, he picks these every week. Yeah, I do my homework every fucking week. It goes together. So if you look, I'm looking for trades on the wind. If you look at the wind, I'm looking for trades, not in gold. Fuck, gold's the number one. I'm looking for trades down here in the worst performers. Okay, that's where I'm looking for my trades. Now, it doesn't mean you can't get a trade or two up here, but this is where my money's going to come from probably. And so you can see that's kind of what was on my mind, you know. And then trade ideas you're going to see. And so imagine if we go look right now at Ox, like Justice, I was just about to say Oxy. We're obviously on the same train of thought. Let's look at Oxy. That's Gush, but let's look at Oxy. Boom! You know, that was one that could have picked up some in the margin account. Bam, look at that. You can see the money flow pattern, man. So if I'm looking at, if I do my homework and I look and the number 7 on the wind is oil, and here, and I look at Oxy and I can see the damn pattern. Okay, well, Oxy's a stage 1 going into Sunday, right? All right, I just need to see, boom, there's the trigger, there's my anchor. Let's go. And then, you know, yeah. Now we're going to run into trouble right up in here, and you see that's where it stopped, man. So swing traders, you know, if you're depending on how fast you're trading, it depends on your time frame. You know, buy and holder, they're going to do nothing. Now it's going their way. You know, buy and holder is buying all these stage 1s. You just buy stage 1s, buy stage 1s, buy stage 1s. That's all you got to do. That's it. You just buy stage 1s. That's it. So simple. Swing trader is trying to buy these stage 1s, and he's waiting for that swing so he can sell it. Right? Now, does a swing trader necessarily want to buy, you know, does the swing trader necessarily want to, are you going to get the most momentum out of the worst performing sector? Probably not. Probably not, but definitely buy and hold. I'm targeting that. I don't want to be putting buy and hold money in gold right now. So I'm definitely targeting those bottom levels for buy and hold. Position trading, but I might swing trade some of those. And if we're going to go higher up the wind, let's say you have a lagging gold stock. So if I'm going to try to trade something that's in the 1, 2, and 3 range on the wind, those are probably going to be swing trades, right? And I'm going to be looking for laggards is typically what I would be doing. You know, like everything in tech is doing great. Tech, the 1, 2, or 3 on the wind, and then Adobe misses earnings. I wait for it to set up. Well, if tech has got a spot, see what I'm saying? Then yeah, then I can play a stock that's in a win category that's higher up, knowing that it's going to play catch up. And so it gives you a way to begin to see all these moving parts and make sense of everything, man. Because you know, it doesn't always make sense. But that's what the wind allows you to do. That's what doing your homework allows you to do. And if you want to do it, yeah, someone says that ConocoPhillips is also breaking out. You're going to see all these oil stocks breaking out. But if you're ever, let's see, if you're at the Peters report, if you go to the top up here, we got an article, I think it's probably our most popular article, that basically breaks down the basic concept of how I do homework, man. Sorry, there it is. But it breaks down how I do homework. And that there's a link to that article always at the back of the newsletter, man. For oh shit, I'm not even showing it, man. I apologize. Let me start that over. Let's see. My brain, man. So at the back of the Peters report right here, you're going to see my whiteboard, updates every Sunday. Now, I've gone back to just putting the dividends that I'm getting from the regular type of stocks and posting the stocks, the dividends from the second income stream over there. And we're trying to put together a separate whiteboard. I got sick, kind of slowed that down a little bit. Just to kind of separate them from the regular stocks, because they're definitely not regular stocks. And you'll see a huge dividend difference. That's the power of that second income stream. The dividends are fucking massive, man. I don't even know what to say. I mean, whenever I explain it to people that are professional investors, they look at me like I'm Bernie Madoff or something. But if you click this here, it'll show you my ultimate guide to your money flow playbook. If you haven't read through that, you might glance through it and it'll kind of explain how I do my homework, man. Doesn't really change much. We want stocks when no one else wants them. Absolutely. Now, if you're day trading, different situation. You just want whatever's fucking hot and moving, if you're trading different things. If you're a day trader is trading different things. I've been trading NVIDIA here the last few days pretty successfully, except for today. I'm having my ass handed to me today, but other than today, I should have walked away earlier, man, when I was up. So, hey, market's going to close. I appreciate you guys. I hadn't been on in a minute, man. I want to come on, talk, let you know I wasn't dead, but I am alive. And someone had mentioned in Discord too about the texting. Remember, I only text when I'm doing some, and sometimes I'm not doing anything. You don't need me to tell you the RSI is 70 and it's time to trim. If you need to trim, trim. I may or may not trim, but my portfolio can be different than yours. I may not trim because I've already trimmed it. I'm not going to keep trimming it, I haven't trimmed BX in 6, 7, 8 years, it seems like. Haven't trimmed Pepsi, haven't added to it, haven't done anything. But I will show it and tell you guys, hey, stage 1. Okay. But really, you need to be alerted getting in. I think once they're in, I think everyone is pretty mature to know what they need to do once they're in. That's the money flow, and that's what homework is, man. And if you look on the homework board, you're going to see all the shit that's stage 3 written on the board. Well, all that shit is trimmable. Yeah, Jess just posted a link to the homework thing. So if it's in your portfolio, you need to trim. If it's buy and hold, don't feel compelled to. Like if you're in PLTR and you're making great money, you don't have to sell it. When was the best time to trim Amazon? 5,000, the last 5,000%. When was the best time? None. Should have just kept it. So it really just depends on where it is and what portfolio you got it in and what you're doing with it. Trading around a core position is a good idea. Meaning if you're going to do that strategy though, that works well when, okay, let's say oil stocks are setting up. What I've typically done in the past is I add new oil stocks to my portfolio. I don't, once I have a core in Exxon, I don't necessarily need to add any more, but I will go in there and say, pick up Oxy. And that's how over the years I end up with large positions in Chevron, Conoco. And there may have been a 1 year, 2 year period where the only thing I added to was ConocoPhillips, or the only thing I added to was Exxon. Well, I've been doing it 20-something years, guys. And so your portfolio is going to grow in age as you grow in age, okay? So don't think you're constantly have to do something. But, trim a little, start a new position. But as it gets bigger and bigger, you really don't need to do that. Anyway, man, I hope that helps, man. Anything I can do for anyone, you guys let me know. And I'll do what I can do.
$5,000 for both houses.
All right. So you got 2 streams of rental effectively for $75,000. Now you have an advantage over a lot of real estate investors. You are a skilled carpenter and sheetrock guy, and you do floors. I don't think you do roofs, right? But
No.
you do a lot of the work yourself.
But at the time, I didn't know how to do any of this.
Okay.
Yeah, my dad was a computer programmer.
Okay.
From the 70s. So
Okay.
I grew up with computers when other people didn't have computers.
Right.
We weren't outside doing baseball. I mean, the first time I ever picked up a skill saw, I was 29 years old. And so I just knew I would see people doing it and it didn't look like rocket science. And so I'm like, well, if that guy can do it, I can learn this.
Now, okay, so you said that you had kind of been, you had had a guy give you basically a business plan over dinner.
Yeah.
And so now you bought your first house, then you bought your second house. I'll tell you what, let's reintroduce. This is Gerald Peters. Gerald Peters is an internet content creator, real estate investor, and stock market investor. If you'd like to give a call to us here at 713-526-5738 and ask a question, we'd be happy to have you. And when you call, and if you call, please be succinct. If you have a statement and a question, just make the statement, then ask the question, and we'll let Gerald respond. So I was going to ask about your second house, but you've already said you were already planning to buy a second house when you bought your first house.
10.
Oh, you would plan. Okay, so you're saying I'm going to buy 10 houses.
He told me if you can do this once, you do it 9 more times and you're a millionaire.
Right, because like 75 times 10 is 750,000.
Basic math.
And let's say it goes up 5% a year.
Yeah.
And while you're paying your debt down,
Yep.
You are accumulating net worth. Now you're working your buns off, right? In other words, you're getting renters, you're collecting rent, you're dealing with all the hassles and everything of rental real estate, but you have really bought yourself a substantial income. And anyway, I just find it fascinating. I think you really were lucky to have landed in Huntsville. Like in Houston now, I'm not sure. Well, of course, now you look back in the 70s and it's a different thing, or the 80s, but
Right.
it's I
didn't know that.
Yeah.
Looking back now, I should have bought 100 units.
Right. Now
But
you don't have any in Houston, right?
No property in Houston. I have in Florida and then New Orleans. I mean,
right.
But I think today, because I teach a lot of this, and people know so much, you can learn so much information that it keeps you from executing.
Well, I'll bet.
Yeah.
I've always been, frankly, afraid to buy a rental house.
Most people are afraid because they know too much.
It's like it's a, kind of a, I'm daunted by, by dealing with tenants, by the repairs.
I just don't deal with them.
Well, there you go.
Like people think, they forget that you're in charge.
Right.
I don't have to answer the phone.
Okay.
You can just call and I don't pick it up.
Okay. There you go.
But this is, honestly, we want to be good landlords and we want to take care of stuff, but that doesn't mean we're at the mercy of anyone, pushing you around or making you do things you don't want to do.
Well, I've seen your properties and they're nice.
They're nice. I keep them nice.
You have the wood floor, you have the nice white sheetrock, they look clean and nice. And of course they're older properties, but they're very, very nice. Let's see, it looks like we have a call. We have a call from Randall. Let's go ahead and put Randall on the air. Randall, you are on the air. Go ahead and please go ahead with your question.
All right, so you said earlier, or your guest, I forget his name.
Gerald Peters. Gerald Peters.
Gerald Peters. Peters. So you purchased one home, and you wanted what you can do the first time, you can do 10 times, and you're a millionaire. So on that first, which I've done, actually I have 2, and they're both paid off.
Ooh.
So what would I know you're not offering financial advice, disclaimer, but what you just finance, you put the title on to get a loan, or that's what I'm trying to understand. Like, how do people usually get to that third and fourth?
Good question, Randall. Let's let Gerald answer that question.
Yeah, he said that first 2 were paid for. I would never advise that. The money in real estate, people don't understand, comes from leverage. So what I try to teach people is put 20% down. And to keep the math simple, if you have $100,000 house, you're going to put down 20 grand. Well, he said he has 2 houses. Let's say they're both worth 200. Each are worth 100,000. Means he has 200,000 in equity and he's collecting 2 rent checks.
So he can take 160 out and go buy
He's
another
actually
house.
paying taxes.
Yes.
What I would do is I would go buy 10 houses.
Okay.
And pay no taxes.
Well, in that example, if he had 160,000 in borrowable equity, then
Yeah.
he could buy 8 more.
8 more.
8 more.
That's
Yeah.
my point. And then and because of depreciation, and our listeners can go look that up, but depreciation will kill any tax, most of any taxes you're going to make.
Right. Right.
As an accountant, you know that. And
yes.
And then but now you're going to get the stealth appreciation of 10 houses versus 2.
Exactly.
And you're going to get monumentally rich and pay no taxes.
Well, 10 times 100,000 is
it's pretty simple math, right?
Is $1 million.
And at 5% of $1 million is what?
50 grand a year
versus 5% of 2 houses.
Right. Exactly.
That he pays tax on.
So instead of 10 grand a year appreciation,
Yeah.
you get 50 grand appreciation. Now, this is not financial advice.
No, it's just math.
Thank you, Randall, for the disclaimer. But this is what you teach on your YouTube channel.
Now, there's nothing wrong with having homes paid for. I have 12 actually, misspoke. I have 12 houses paid for.
But now, when you were building, you were building.
Yeah, I'm leveraging.
Yes. Very, very good. Now. I found it interesting, and I'm going to jump to the present.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, because when I first started listening to you on YouTube, you were Huntsville based. You were based in Huntsville. Then you went and bought a house in New Orleans, and I saw some of those. I was going, oh no, here we go. Here we go. You're in. You're in. You're in a difficult political environment. You're dealing with some old real estate. Now you have a great location, and I got all this from online. But I remember you had walls that had,
it's 200
moisture coming down them. You had, you had entrance ways that were behind something else. And now tell me, what do you do with that property? Is it an Airbnb or what do you do?
That one in New Orleans is just for me.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So I'm an investor. And if you've made some money in life and you will, if you can't help it, if you go out and buy 10, 20 houses, you're going to accidentally be a multimillionaire.
So you get to actually spend some of this money.
Right. And so after 17, 20 years of doing this consistently every day,
right,
you can't help but have money.
Right.
And I could buy a Ferrari, which goes down in value. And I don't really like cars that much.
Right.
Or I could buy a cool condo in the French Quarter
there you go.
$600 a square foot.
Wow. That's fantastic. Now you also bought a beachfront property, and you're using the real estate maximum. Again, I'm no real estate expert, but it's buy beachfront property.
You know how I bought that? This is a
good, tell us about
this. This is a good story. So 2007, I find a beat up house in the avenues of 4 blocks from the Sam Houston State University.
Right. Oh, wow. Okay.
So, but the house and the lot weren't that much different. That's how bad the house was. So it cost me $49,000. I ended up putting down 30%.
Okay.
And at the time, that was all my money. People got to remember sometimes when I say these numbers, they're like, oh, I'm in California. And I'm like, yeah, but go back 20 years in Huntsville, small town, Texas, nobody makes any money. I'm making $12 an hour. So I'm all in.
No, I got to ask you this question. What, now I'm an accountant, and I've had a successful career, and, I topped out a little north of 100,000 when I was, before I heard and everything. Well, you knew I knew the answer to that question before you told me. So you have by dint of strategy, savings, you have built your asset portfolio, and
yeah, it's all conscious. Like every day I get up, I have an actual plan, and every day I get up is to live out that plan. My goal every day, I have this basic philosophy. There's only a couple ways to get rich in America. You can own a business. Either you do or you don't. So you say, well, I don't. Okay.
Right.
Well, we've eliminated that one.
Uh-huh.
Then there's invest in the stock market.
Yes.
or other people's businesses, I call it, which is the stock market,
Yes.
or you can own real estate. And so you need to pick one of the three, or two of the three, or three of the three.
There you go. Very, very good.
It's pretty simple.
Let's see. It looks like we have another caller.
Nice.
John, you please state your question for Gerald.
This is not John. This is Lee. If it's my turn.
I'm sorry. Go right ahead, Lee. Excuse me.
All right. You guys are talking about depreciation and how that works.
Yes.
One of the things I haven't heard anybody talk about is fighting with the appraisal districts to keep the values down, because you've got depreciation and they keep wanting, especially in Harris County, to jack your values up 10% every year. And they have probably less than 5% of the people go in and fight with them.
Thanks for the question. Great question, especially here in Harris County.
Here's the other one.
Yes,
you.
go ahead. Go ahead.
They had my house valued at over $220,000.
Yeah.
When I got out after this last hearing, it was down to 120.
Well, in other words, you're saying it pays to go in there and fight.
Yeah.
Damn straight.
Okay. Thank you very much for the question. Tell how are the appraisal districts in Montgomery, Walker County,
Yeah.
right? How was that?
It's the same all over Texas. And I don't know if you saw the other day, apparently they have a $32 billion surplus from property taxes.
Yes.
And that
yes.
makes me feel good as they keep raising my property taxes.
Well, we have different things going on. You get to take depreciation against your taxes, but in fact, the property stays the same in value or goes up in value. So the appraisal district doesn't tax you on the depreciated value of the property. Right. They tax you on the market value of the property, and that's always arguable. If you're not planning to sell, it's questionable what the value is. In Harris County, we have a big problem here, that's why there are services like O'Connor and other tax to the service,
like law firms and stuff that'll
yes,
represent you.
they'll go and represent you. So
which is probably cost efficient if you own a, say, apartment building or something like that.
So you're paying property taxes on 15, 16 properties in Walker.
17. And, my tax bill, I think last year was, I don't know, $40,000 or something between beach condos. And being rich is expensive. I don't know if you guys know this.
But you have the cash to pay.
Yeah, I'm not paying it.
Your renters are?
Yeah, I didn't buy my beach house. I didn't buy my car.
The bank?
No, renters.
The renters. Okay. Now, so you rent out your beach house.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm not paying the taxes.
All right. Okay.
I didn't even buy the house.
Okay.
Bought a house for $12,000 in 2009 that I then fixed up and rented for a bunch of years, and then I 1031 exchanged it into a beach house.
And so you did. Oh, okay. So is that what you did?
That's how I got my beach house. Was a house that I bought many years ago in Huntsville. Actually goes back because I've owned it 16 years. Taxes were ridiculous. They were, we fight taxes every. You should time to go in and fight because you're an American, and people before you fought for America. So if you have to take a day off of work to go in and complain, it's the least you could do to help us.
Sure.
That's how I put it.
Yeah.
And I don't like doing it because I'm busy.
And
so I send in my property manager.
Oh, okay. There you go.
I don't go.
There you go.
Who's my wife, by the way.
Okay. I tell you what, let's take our first musical break, and we'll come back on the other side with continuing visiting with Gerald Peters about real estate, his online presence, which is pretty substantial. And then we'll get into the stock market, which is my favorite topic.
Mine too.
All right.
Love
okay.
it.
Thank you. Welcome back. This is John Henry with Pacifica Business Talk. We're at 90.1 FM on your dial. We're on terrestrial radio. If you go to kpft.org, you can listen live, or you can press archive and search for business. And we are the only show on KPFT that has the word business in the title, so you can see the previous shows that we've done. Gerald Peters is an author. He's an entrepreneur. He invests in real estate and the stock market, and is a YouTube and Instagram producer. And he's here live in studio with us today. So now we were visiting, you had mentioned the 1031 exchange, which is a tax code thing called the like-kind exchange provision. And so what you can do with that, and I'll just explain for the users real quickly, is you can take a property that you had purchased a decade before or 2 decades before with appreciation and roll that tax-free into a new property. And it's a cool deal. Now, ultimately, tax will be paid on that, but tax deferred is tax not paid in the present, and it's a key to tax planning. So appreciate your bringing that up. I tell you what, let's, I'd like to pivot to your online presence because that's how I first came in touch with you. I watch a lot of business content on YouTube and Instagram, and on Instagram, you have over 110,000 subscribers, and I've seen you with the Flipboard where you lay out how to buy a house, just like the guy that you went to dinner with. And I'm sorry, I'm calling him the guy, but I can't give him credit. But where you're showing people how to invest in real estate, and you have the patience to be a teacher. And that's one of the things that's hard for me is you don't mind repeating yourself, because it's a hard thing to, it's hard for people to understand this, even though it may seem simple. Just you have your purchase price, you have your down, you have your note, you have your rent, you have your maintenance, you have your depreciation, you have your taxes. And that may seem simple to some people who've been through it a million times. But when did you first have the idea, or did you kind of make a trial video and get good response, or how did that happen?
As far as like trying to teach it?
Well, yeah, just saying, well, I'm going to start, here you're making money in real estate, you're making money in the stock market. Why bother to tell people?
And I never had that thought. Like, I see a lot of guys that they start teaching, and they kind of made their money teaching something. And that wasn't me. I'd already had, a bunch of properties and was multi-millionaire.
Right.
And it was actually through my son. He had said something, and I was like, if I wanted to, I could get 5,000 followers. I actually did not, I didn't see a need for social media. I was like a lot of normal people. Like, why would you show your dinner? What is all this dumb stuff? That was kind of my thought. Right.
It was Ethan. Excuse me. I'm familiar with Ethan.
Yeah.
What a wonderful guy. A terrible tragedy.
Yeah.
I'll leave you to talk about that, but okay.
It was just a back and forth with my son, and he was like, "Oh, you couldn't get 5,000." Like, he's kind of guys ribbing each other.
Right.
And I'm like, dude, if I wanted to get 5,000 followers, all I got to do is put it in my mind. And I go, I'll give away my book. And then we literally bet. He pulled $100 out and says, "I bet you can get 5,000." And I was like, "You're on." And I started like posting and saying, "Hey, because I had wrote this book." I had an early mentor who told me life worth living is a life worth recording. And so if you've lived a life that is worth living, someone else might want to know something you did. Now
the book that people can download is You Don't Have to Die Broke.
Right. And that was it.
It's an excellent book. I've read it online. Yeah. I appreciate the hard copy. Tell us just a little bit about what's in that.
And I really
book.
just wrote it in case I died.
Like
the cosmic roll of the dice is a real thing in life.
Sure.
You can be on a highway, you're doing your exercise and you're eating right, you're praying, you're going to church, you're doing everything right, and you just die.
Sure.
And I knew that could happen. And I was like, if that happened, I'd want my wife, my son, my grandkids to have at least what I've learned. That was my total thing on that. And I put it on Amazon because I knew it'd be archived forever.
Right.
Yeah. And that was years before I was on social. And then when I was on social, to get people to listen to you, you need to be a person of value. You have no right to ask for anything from people if you haven't given them something. Big believer in that. So I said, I'm just going to give away the book and I'm going to teach it. And as I began to do that, people said, "Hey, I don't like free ebooks. Can I buy it?"
Right.
So by giving it away, I sold books.
Right. Right. Actually, I've seen several videos where you have this big old mailing thing.
Yeah, I'm taking them to the post office every day.
Exactly.
And by giving it away.
Right. Right. It's a anyway, it's a great book. So you have two books. One is the You Don't Have to Die Broke, and the other is the Money Flow Trading System,
which gets into stocks. Yeah.
Yes. Now we're going to pivot right on into there. Let's see how can people get the book. If you go to Instagram,
you can, or you can just go to my name, just like it sounds, Gerald Peters, and it's just .info.
GeraldPeters.info.
I won't follow up with you. There's nothing like that.
Yeah. So I recommend it. It's a great book. You teach it on your internet content, and I feel before I even downloaded the book and read it, I realized that you had taught most of it to me.
Yeah.
By what I had seen.
Most time when people buy something from me, they're like, I already know this.
Right. but it's good. Now, when we get into the stock market. Actually, I tell you what, let's Instagram Full Auto 11, okay, and then YouTube Gerald Peters or Full Auto 1. And
I personally answer every DM, every question.
Yeah,
and that came out of when you do this for a living. I don't know what else to call it. Like,
right.
I have no job. I own a bunch of properties. I own a bunch of stocks. Every day I wake up, I'm looking at the world. How can I make money?
The money flow is what, one of the things that caught my imagination when I was first listening to you. You were on video. Of course, we're on radio now.
Yeah.
You said, there's money. There's money. You were picking up money as it flowed around you.
Right. And that's how I see it.
Like you go to Nabisco, you go to the Kroger and there's Kroger. You buy Nabisco. There's
think
Nabisco.
About this. There was a day at your house that you ordered something from Amazon.
Yeah.
And then there was a day where it was coming every week. And yet most people never think I should buy this stock.
You got to have 100 shares of Amazon.
That's the way they think, right? I need 100 shares. And it's like, no, you just needed one. You needed one share when it was $50.
That's right.
And then along the way, you could have bought two. And then maybe a third one. And now you've got $10,000.
Yes.
But we're going to buy 30 other stocks. So now you got $300,000.
Well, now you have, last week, I discussed the stock market, and, sometimes we have guests that talk about rental real estate and, Bitcoin, we have Bitcoin, and you have a representation of a Bitcoin.
Because people tend to be one camp or the other.
Yes.
I'm all real estate. Well, if you're all real estate, you understand utility companies. Southern Electric turns the lights on for you.
Sure.
So there's all kinds of stocks you understand by owning real estate.
That's right. Centerpoint, it's a
REITs. You understand REITs, mortgage REITs.
Oh yeah, REITs are great.
You understand banks.
Yes.
I could go down the list of things you understand. Home Depot.
Right. That's the money flow, right?
That's the money flow.
In other words, you're looking around yourself and seeing the things that are, they're there. They're making money. They're not going away. Anyway, last week we talked about stock market, and I posed the difference between fundamental and technical analysis, and I long ago gave up trying to understand fundamental analysis. It's like back in the 40s, and I was not born in the 40s, but there were, you could ferret out this information and find this fundamental analysis and say, oh, well, gosh, this company's really up and coming. But now, in my opinion, it really is all in the price. It's all in the chart. And you have a 4-stage process that is a technical analysis process. Can you explain that briefly?
I do still believe that fundamentals matter. I don't know when they matter, meaning they may not matter for a long time.
The timing might be way off.
But ultimately, I believe things swing from because on fear and greed. Right. And I don't think many people are sitting around calculating the earnings of McDonald's. I think that's a lost art. And I think prices run up way too high, and then they drop way too low. And so you have this constant pendulum. And that I believe is true. began to look at is I would take fundamentals into account. And all I mean by taking fundamentals into account is if I was going to write a check for, say, Zillow or Home Depot, if I was writing a check, how much would they want? And any accountant, any analyst can tell you that based on fair market accounting thing. That doesn't mean the stock's going to trade at that price.
Right.
And when it's way below that price, now I'm interested. And then I go to what I call the 4 stages of price movement.
Right.
And I'm looking for stage 1's undervalued.
Now that's explained in your money flow trading system.
Right. And when I first wrote the first book, it never occurred to me that anyone would ask me, because in there I have a chapter 10 on dogs of the Dow.
Right.
That's a long-standing philosophy of basically buying Dow stocks with the highest dividend yield that are out of favor.
Right.
I came across that strategy one year.
Do you still use that strategy?
I still use it to this day. And at the same time, I was learning technical analysis and all this. And then it dawned on me that if I bought those stocks using my trading technical analysis, when they were set up for, quote, what would be a good trade, it was also a good time to buy it as an investor.
Right. Right. Now you divide.
And I began to merge the two concepts of fundamental and technical analysis.
Well, and you talk about the two, your two different, you talk about swing trading, and then you talk about dividend investing.
Right.
And you're the only person I know who posts when you get a dividend.
I do that.
And it's a reminder, you know, hey, I got $65 and, you know, didn't do a thing.
Nothing.
Didn't do a thing.
And I post like in my newsletter, I put it out free, thepetersreport.com. I'll show them this week. I'm collecting $908, I think.
All right. All right.
Yeah. I've never, ever in my life, ever brought home a dividend. Since I've been doing this, it's all been reinvested. I'm 53, so that day's coming. But I enjoy that.
Sure.
And I think that's one of the things that gives me an advantage is I enjoy collecting dividends and not spending them. Like I get an actual fulfillment.
It's it's certainly fulfilling. Now, one of the things that's cool today is that you get dividends for actually being in cash, and that's like
I was going to bring that up. That changes things.
It changes things.
Since I've been an investor, that's a new dynamic.
Exactly. And of course, what we're talking about is for the last 10 years since Obama, right? The rate on money market funds or savings accounts, and by savings accounts, I don't mean your bank savings account. I'm talking about money market funds that float with the current interest rates, 4.5, 5. It's getting above 5%.
I opened an M1 Finance, which is one of the brokers I use for. If you don't need to trade it, M1 Finance is very nice. It's an app on your phone.
Oh, okay.
Because there's no office, there's no whatever. They pass the cost along to the customer.
Oh, okay.
And so I'm getting a full 5%.
So it's essentially a bank that you can get money in and out of your checking account. Oh, okay. So it's a brokerage firm too.
It's a brokerage firm, but they offered a 5% yielding checking account.
Well, remember when Apple made big news about 3 months ago with a 4.5%, everyone went, "Whoa, Apple's taking
huge."
Yeah, it's a big difference because you used to have to go to like Philip Morris or something like that to get a 4 or 5% yield. Yes. Now, Philip, okay. So
I'm fixing to buy BTI. That's what I'm watching.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. I own a lot of cigarettes, but I say a lot. There's only 3 main ones.
British Tobacco, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm fixing to add.
Interesting.
I've been stalking it.
So now you have two bucks kind of for stocks. You have dividend stocks, and then you have swing trading.
Yeah, I do a couple things in the stock world. I think the stock is really as a way to save the cash flow that I was making from real estate. And I had 5 rentals, and I usually encourage kids to get into real estate first because the down payment's so big. People don't understand that. And they'll say, well, real estate makes more money. And it's like, yeah, because when you buy a real estate position, you're putting 30, 35, 40 grand.
Right.
Most people, when they buy a stock, aren't putting in 40 grand.
No.
So if you'd have put 40 grand into Facebook a year ago, you're sitting at, so that's some of the comparison isn't really fair.
Right. Also, the liquidity is so different.
The liquidity is different. They're different assets. But I began to do, for me, the stock market was a way to relax. I know this sounds crazy. I would take a break from real estate. I needed a hobby. I needed to read. And so the stock market became a way to, okay, I got this cash flow. I don't need it.
Mhm.
And then I began to learn about other things. I said, well, why don't I put it in dividend stocks and I'll get an IRA? That'll lower my taxes.
Right.
And that, and it just kind of evolved from there. And then that got to where it's, it's almost $1 million. But I keep going back to this. It's not my money.
Hmm.
My renters gave me $1 million in stock.
Sure.
When you start to get that connection, you start to realize like money this is a game. It's a tool. You don't have to live paycheck to paycheck if you begin to think about it in the right way.
Well, that's a lot of what's in your "You Don't Have to Die Broke," and a lot of your message. Of course, I have maybe a decade on you, or maybe a little more than a decade. Yeah. But a lot of your message is for younger people.
I think so.
And I mean, what I'm going to hit.
And my buddy with me here, he's holding. Yeah, 61.
Oh, well, there you go. He
looks better than me, doesn't he?
Well, look at that black hair. Yeah, yeah. I'm envious. Yeah. But if you, I'm going to give you a tee up here. What is the opportunity now for, say, a 35-year-old?
And I get this a lot. Is it stocks? Is it this? Is it that? Everyone always thinks that what's happening right now is rare, unique, and a unicorn. Mm-hmm. There's no opportunity like I have today. And I'm like, well, that's funny because I've seen this 9 times. So I don't think this opportunity in Dogecoin is the last opportunity you're ever going to have. Wow. Like everyone thinks that like, this is my last chance. Am I too late for Bitcoin? And it's like, no, it's crashed like 10 times. It's like, you're never too late to anything. And like, even now I get a lot, well, interest rate, should I wait to buy real estate? Well, I'm looking at properties right now. I've bought a property every year for the last 20 years. So every day is a good day to be a real estate investor, and every day is a good day to be a stock investor. Compared to
2.1%, 5% seems high, but in the early 80s, we were looking at 10, 12%.
I was going to say, my mother-in-law was telling me stories about having a 12% CD.
Yes.
Now, it does change the game. I think for lower income people or people who don't have assets, it doesn't mean a lot. But like, I need to sell 15 houses. 13 are paid for.
Right.
5% at the bank changes the dynamic.
Yes, it does.
I mean, that creates 6,000 a month passive doing nothing. If I just sell them and dump it and then bank.
Right, exactly.
Or do I want to put it in stocks, or do I want to buy more properties at a higher interest rate?
The risk-free, totally liquid 5% is huge, but it might not be around forever. In other words, we're beginning to see signs of inflation decreasing. Our guest today is Gerald Peters. Gerald is an entrepreneur, an investor in real estate and the stock market, and is an author and maintains a substantial internet presence on Instagram and YouTube. On Instagram, look for Full Auto 11. And to hear his discussions about the stock market and real estate, he's the author of 2 books, which you can download at Full Auto 11 on Instagram, or look for Gerald Peters on YouTube. This is a little in the weeds, but you are a Bitcoin fan. Things change so fast. They really move at the speed of light. And in one sense, you just said, and I agree with you, that all the opportunities, all the opportunities are gone. Well, that's not true.
No, not at all.
We had a real estate person on 2 weeks ago, and he presented a 6-unit property in the 3rd ward of single family houses for $287,000. And now, maybe difficult neighborhood, maybe it's on the other side of town. It's an opportunity. It's an opportunity. They all had air conditioners. You take 300,000, divide it by 6, and you're talking about some opportunity there.
Yeah.
And this is in Houston 2 weeks ago. So now, real quickly, what do you think about Bitcoin, and what's your history with Bitcoin?
Yeah, I mean, I've owned Bitcoin for a couple of years.
Yeah.
No, I have Bitcoin. I think I think anybody who's against Bitcoin, if they were to sit down next to me and God is their witness, if I said, have you put in 12 hours of study?
Mhm.
I mean, have you actually studied?
Have you read the Satoshi white
Yeah.
paper?
Have you actually, based on this opinion of yours, have you actually put in some study? Most
Thank you.
people would say no.
Absolutely. I think Bitcoin is incredible.
Yeah.
It's incredible. I'm not going all in. I'm not going
Sure, it's an asset
YOLO.
class, right?
It's an asset class.
Like owning Philip Morris or owning whatever. I think anyone that owns assets today that's investing and you don't own some Bitcoin are being very foolish.
It's an amazing thing. And you have people like Warren Buffett out there saying it's a scam, or I'm not saying
Yeah,
exactly what he said.
Charlie called it.
Charlie
rat
called
poison.
it. Yes. Okay. Well, that's now he's doing okay.
Yeah,
But
he's done all right for himself.
Yeah, he's doing all right. But we can comment on his opinion as thinking it's incorrect. Listen, we do have a caller. Reza is on the line. Reza, do you have a question for Gerald?
Yeah, actually it's Reza, but that's okay.
Reza, thank
Gerald,
you.
I'm listening to your commentary here, and I'm enjoying what you have to say. My question is this: I'm a social worker for a school, elementary school, and I do some work in middle schools as well. Do you, living in Kano, do you come into the schools at all? Or do you, to present to students, or do you have some type of, agreement or some type of, affiliation with schools at all when you're going to school?
No, I mean, I would love to. That's something I'm actually trying to do that in New Orleans. I live part-time in Texas and half the time in New Orleans, and I've been trying to do that. Yeah, totally be up to that. You can always hit me up, man.
Well, how can I do that? Because I want to get this started.
Yeah, just DM me on Instagram. I mean, I'm always happy. Like, I love talking about it.
Instagram.
Well, I'm not on Instagram, but is there any other way for me to reach you?
Go to my website.
Email or so?
Yeah. Same thing. fullauto11@gmail.com.
Full auto?
Yep, 11.
Full auto, is that FULL?
Yeah, FULLAUTO, just like the gun, full auto.
Full auto 11?
Yep, @gmail.com.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
thank you, Reza. Thank you. We have another caller. Mickey is on the line. Mickey, go ahead with your question.
Sure. Hey, Gerald Peters, great talking with you. My question is, I'm trying to do my first real estate deal.
Okay.
And I'm just trying to figure out the numbers, with the 20% down.
Mm-hmm.
How much do I need to make like minimum monthly yield on that rent, either monthly or yearly to make that deal worthwhile?
I try to get at least, and this is generic, okay? There's times when I would adjust this, but if I can get $200 a door per $175,000 house, I'm happy.
Okay.
And that can be, adjusted like.
That's monthly.
Monthly.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's ideal. But that, there's other guys that say I need 350. I self-manage. I do a lot of work myself. I don't necessarily need the numbers that a guy that lives in New York City that has a manager and a contractor. My numbers can be different. I can compete with him.
So, I mentioned that at the beginning of the hour where Gerald has a secret weapon. In other words, he'll go in there and fix the sheetrock, do the floors, do the landscaping himself. Mm-hmm. And he does a lot of work on, hot summer days. He's out there working.
And we do it as a family. My wife is the property manager. It's not really optional. You're married to me and I buy houses. And I think, that I see a lot of families struggle because like the husband's doing one thing, the wife's doing one thing. And you guys they're not on the same mission. Mm-hmm. And the whole reason to buy property or invest in the stock market is to get you and your family wealthy. And if everyone can get on the same mission and you have multiple adults on the same mission, it can really, really, explode your return.
So when you say 175 a door per month, you're really talking about after your note payment, your maintenance, your property taxes, you end up with 175.
And I use that as my example because I think that's an average price for a 2-bedroom. Oh, sorry, he was done.
Very good. Mickey, thanks for the question. I hope we answered your question.
You did. Thank you.
Oh, very good. Very good.
Yeah, but yeah, when I say 175 in a perfect world, if you've ever seen me teach this, I would like to get that house for 160 or less.
Okay.
So I have a technique where when I'm looking every day, I find properties on Realtors, Zillow, and if they look like they work on paper, I then reach out and, in other words, I'm not even going to go look at a property that doesn't make $200 on paper from the MLS. And then if it does, now I'm gonna go look at it. And sometimes I may offer them exactly what they're asking because it works. There's no reason to fiddle around.
Right.
The guy wants 190 and it works at 190. Congratulations. I'll take the deal. I don't need to get it for 185 to feel like I beat the guy up.
Right.
Because $5,000 doesn't matter.
There you go. Very good.
Because I'm not paying 190. I'm putting 20% down.
Yeah. Very good. Now we have another call. MOD is on the phone. Go ahead with your question, please.
Appreciation.
Really appreciate I should be recording this, or I can go back and listen.
You can go back and listen.
Yeah, this is. But Tap My Wire, John, was. I wanted, I'm trying to understand the digital distributed digital currency like Bitcoin. The question I have is, why does it seem that all the world's countries that are doing the central bank digital currency narrative, enrolling in it or piloting it or researching it, why do they dislike distributed digital currency like Bitcoin?
Thank you very MOD. Thank you very much for the question.
Easy, right?
Go ahead, Gerald. Give that a shot.
Obviously, because they don't have control over Bitcoin.
That's right.
Nobody can print it.
Right. Bitcoin.
Same reason they got rid of the gold standard.
There's no central authority for Bitcoin. All you need is a computer, and you can transact in Bitcoin, assuming you have access to the internet, and that's what's so powerful about it.
And I try to teach people, don't look at it like a currency. It's not a currency. We're not going to use it to buy coffee. I mean, maybe in the future with the Lightning Network, there will be a time where we do. That'll probably be a different crypto coin. It's really just a store of value.
Right.
And it's just the people and the network. And I know this gets confusing to people, but if you go look at what makes Google so powerful, it's just the network.
It's